me, Caitlin, and I guess you liked my recap/review video of The Mandalorian Chapter 9, The Marshal, last week, that I'm going to do another one. So how it's worked, this is what I decided. For my recap/reviews of The Mandalorian, I will continue posting the recap and reviews so long as I get at least 10 views between, I'll say, 10 can be kind of a stretch for me, so I'll say as long as I can get between like 6 to 10 views on the videos, I will continue posting. So as long as this one gets between 6 and 10 views, I will post the review recap for this week's episode next Sunday. So thank you guys so much for watching my recap/review of The Mandalorian Chapter 9, The Marshal. It was a really, really, really good episode. Like I said, it was a solid start to the second season of this hit show, and I was super excited about it. I loved all the stuff they brought in for Legends, just like little nods here and there. It was really, really cool, and we saw the figure that at this point I am calling Boba Fett. I'm referring to that guy as Boba Fett. It has not been confirmed, I think, whether or not it is Boba Fett. It is the Jango Fett actor, but I don't know for sure if it is Boba Fett. So the mystery remaineth. We have so many questions, and The Mandalorian is really good at just giving us answers for old questions, and then leaving us with new ones. So super, super, super excited. I am so pumped for this season, if you guys cannot tell. So thank you so much for watching last week's episode. Thank you so much for everybody for watching my reaction to the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special trailer. That actually airs next week, you guys. That is so hard to believe. That is next week, that premieres. So thank you guys so much for watching that. Thank you so much for watching my reaction, my review/recap for The Mandalorian. With comments, I'm still figuring out how to work with those because they are not always popping up on the video page. So a lot of times I am having to go find them and hunt them down and approve them so I can respond. So if it takes me a while to respond to your comments, that is why. I'm still trying to figure out how that works on YouTube as I'm getting more and more involved. All right, done with the nitty gritty. Let's talk about this week's episode of The Mandalorian Chapter 10 entitled The Passenger. Again, I will say spoiler alert is in effect. I try not to spoil these too much, so forgive me if I do. So that's why I just have a blanket spoiler alert over the video. But this was actually, I thought The Marshal was kind of a good episode to start off the season, considering the season started on October 30th. And that episode I said was kind of nice because it was kind of like horror and gross, like what you would expect. I am going to amend that statement. This episode, Chapter 10, The Passenger, was more Halloween-esque than The Marshal. Fair warning, if you haven't seen this episode yet, if you don't like spiders, you might want to skip or cover your eyes during the last, 20 minutes of this episode. Spider warning is in effect. So, let's get on with this recap. So, we start off, we're still on Tatooine, which is kind of interesting because I don't think there's a lot of Mandalorian episodes from, Season 1 where we started off in the same place where we ended in the last episode. I think, the first two, no, not even the first two episodes, the last two episodes, we did end and start on Navarro. But I want to say that's pretty much it. So, it's kind of odd but nice that we're still on Tatooine. And of course, my thought is that, hey, the summary was the Mandalorian has to ferry this passenger with special cargo. And I'm going, Boba Fett. No, and I'm sorry for the lighting. Actually, not Boba Fett. So what happens is the Mandalorian is happily on his way back to town. He gets ambushed, and he has to defend himself and the child with one of the funniest moments of this episode, well, if not the funniest, is the jetpack scene. During the ambush, he takes out two of the attackers. The third one grabs Baby Yoda, and Mando trades the jetpack for Baby Yoda and then uses her gauntlet to control the jetpack, which sends it shooting up in the air, and the third attacker just falls to the ground at some point, and the jetpack comes and lands and then falls over. That was a really cool sequence. It was really nice, especially since the rest of the episode, there was kind of a gap between action. So he makes his way back to the city where he gets back in contact, and he doesn't have the speeder bike anymore, so he literally walks. So he gets back to, I have the plot summary up here so I can remember everybody's names. So he gets back and he meets up with Pal Moto. played by, I think it's Amy Sedaris, and she's talking with this this is the first time I've ever seen this alien. It's an alien called Dr. Mandible. It looks like a giant ant. Like, literally, this alien is a giant ant, and they're playing Sabacc, and I'm going, oh my god, it's a B-list horror movie come to life. So that was really interesting. He has failed in his quest to find more Mandalorians, so he's trying to find more, and she tells him, I think I might have a lead. Let me go check. So he goes back to the hangar where the Razor Crest is all nice and shiny and fixed and so pretty. And they're roasting up the slab of meat he got from the Tuskens as payment for helping them take out the Krayt Dragon, because she loves it. So while they're roasting up, she approaches him and says that she knows somebody who knows where Mandalorians are. The thing is called the Trask system, on Trask. However, there's a catch. He has to ferry this person with the information to the planet with only using sublight. So he can't use hyperdrive. The reason? Well, the passenger turns out to be the Frog Lady. Like, literally, everything I found references this character. It does not give a species and does not give a name. That just calls her the Frog Lady. And she needs to meet up with her husband, who she says has seen the Mandalorians, so he knows where they are, so they can fertilize her egg. So she's trying to continue her DNA, her line, and she needs to get to her husband to do that. Like I said last week, I don't think I would let my kids watch this unless they were 10 years of age or older, and this episode kind of proves why. I would be not so comfortable letting younger kids watch The Mandalorian, or at least some episodes of The Mandalorian, particularly this one. Quick interesting note about the Frog Lady. The person who voices her is D. Bradley Baker, the voice of the clones, an amazing voice actor. He is the voice of Frog Lady. So that was really interesting to see when I was going over the information for this episode. So, Mandalorian really doesn't have a choice. He agrees to take Frog Lady to Trask. She has a container in which are her eggs. Quick note, the eggs are unfertilized. They are not fertilized eggs yet. They are unfertilized. Baby Yoda sees the eggs. And this is the episode where my brother basically said, we were talking about this episode Saturday, and he said that Baby Yoda is, no, Friday we were talking about this episode, and he said Baby Yoda is a jerk. So it's appropriate I'm wearing my Protect, Attack, Snack shirt today for this. Baby Yoda sees the eggs. Baby Yoda is always hungry. What does Baby Yoda do? Baby Yoda proceeds to snack on the eggs. So this episode it's kind of funny, and also my brother, it is kind of mean. Baby Yoda starts eating the poor Frog Lady's eggs, and this is where we see Dadalorian in full force, because he's like, no, don't eat those. How many did you eat? And it's like, okay, nap time. So they're on their way. They're traveling through sublight. Mandalorian puts the Razor Crest on auto. He takes Baby Yoda for nap time after catching Baby Yoda eating the eggs. And then the alarms start going off. Why are the alarms going off? Because they are being found by X-Wing pilots. Yes, and guess what? One of them is Trapper, played by Dave Filoni. So that was so awesome seeing Dave again as an X-Wing pilot. He tries to bluff his way out of the situation. Unfortunately, he turns on his ship's identification, and Trapper, played by Dave, realizes that, oh, this is the guy who attacked that ship with all those Republic prisoners on it way back in season 1. So they attack him. Sorry, my nose is running because of my allergies. They attack him and basically forces him to make a crash landing on this snowy planet. The Razor Crest lands and then drops. So basically the Razor Crest went from being nice and shiny and fixed to almost a scrap pile. Like, there's a giant hole in the side and everything. So he has to repair the ship. This upsets Frog Lady because Frog Lady needs to get to her hubby, for reasons I already explained. So she reprograms that droid from that episode. I think it was called Gunslinger? Not Gunslinger. I don't remember the name of that episode. She reprograms that droid and tells him she has to go, and plays on this idea of the Mandalorian honor. He took this job. Mandalorians are supposedly honorable, so he should honor their agreement because of who he is. So he goes, okay, honor agreement. So meanwhile, he is caught baby eating eggs again. So Baby Yoda keeps trying to steal these poor lady's eggs. So he starts trying to fix the ship, and then Baby Yoda comes and gets him and goes, oh, Baby Yoda's more vocal, so he's not talking, but he makes sounds. And Baby Yoda's like, oh, Frog Lady went away. So they find Frog Lady in a hot spring with her eggs. Again, Baby Yoda, kind of being a jerk, tries to get one of the eggs, and Mandalorian does such a dad thing. He doesn't even look over at Baby Yoda. He just goes, no! No. I'm like, oh my god, he's just a dad. He's a parent. He has eyes in the back of his head. So, thwarted in his attempt to get an egg, as Mandalorian and Frog Lady try to gather up the eggs so they can get back to the ship because it's not safe, Baby Yoda finds other eggs. Baby Yoda's like, more food. Baby Yoda goes over to these eggs, breaks one open, and inside is an arachnid. It's a spider. Baby Yoda eats the spider. The other eggs start wiggling around, and then Baby Yoda, the next thing we know, Baby Yoda is running back to Mandalorian, and behind him come creepy, crawly, gigantic white spiders! That's right, this is why I said if you don't like spiders, this might not be a great episode for you. The spiders really look freaking awesome, and if you're someone like me who watched Rebels, you like instantly recognize the design of those spiders. In Rebels, during seasons 2 and 3, when they were on the planet Atollon, they actually found these spiders on Atollon, where the Phoenix Squadron base was. So these spiders are very, very familiar if you're a fan of Rebels, if you watch that show. Also, if you're a fan of Ralph McQuarrie, like a lot of Star Wars fans are, you recognize the spiders even before that, because Ralph McQuarrie actually drew these spiders as a concept for Star Wars. So it's really cool seeing, like, they did this in Rebels. I think they did some of it in Clone Wars a little bit. But a lot of it in Rebels. I think they've done some of it in the sequels. And now they're doing it in The Mandalorian, where they're going back to those original concept drawings Ralph McQuarrie did and pulling from those to create new characters, new planets. For instance, going back to Rebels, I think what it was is Lothal or Gorel was actually based on unused concept drawings for Alderaan. So that's really cool to see these Ralph McQuarrie. Cool, but insanely creepy. Oh my gosh, a lot of people online were saying that they found this episode disturbing and hard to watch because of the spiders. It kind of is. I'm not a big fan of spiders. Like, I'm not totally, like, freaked out by them, but I don't really like them. So, which is funny because my favorite hero is Superman. Spider-Man. Oh my gosh, my brain is fried at this point. But it was kind of like a little creepy and crawly, and the spiders are attacking, and they're doing everything they can. In comes the X-Wing pilots to save the day, and they basically let Mandalorian off the hook because he helped defend. He tried to save the life of the corrections officer in that episode, played by Matt Latner, aka the voice of Anakin Skywalker from Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. And he also apprehended 3 criminals, though he helped another escape. So they basically left him on that planet, and so he gets back to fixing the Razor Crest, and they are able to limp away off to Trask, and that is where the episode ends, with them on their way to Trask. It was a really good episode. It was a solid, like I said, I think with The Mandalorian, its strengths are every episode is very much a solid episode. But here's where some of the consensus online gets interesting. I belong to the Galactic Empire, and a lot of girls, when they were talking about this episode on the Mandalorian thread, pointed out that it felt very much like a filler episode. And I'm not going to lie, I feel that myself, it did kind of feel like a filler episode. One of those episodes that are just there, it doesn't really move the plot forward, it doesn't really add or take anything away from the overarching theme of the show. It's just a random episode. Yes, it feels like a filler episode. I'm not going to lie. But here's the thing you have to remember. While Dave Filoni may not have written this episode, may not have directed this episode, it may not be the guy in charge, that guy in charge is Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni is still kind of playing a big role in The Mandalorian. He is still involved in the show. I think he's considered one of the producers. I'm not exactly sure what role. I have to look it up. But he is very much involved in this show. So while it is a Jon Favreau-helmed show, Dave Filoni will still be there. I mean, come on, he was in the gallery for The Mandalorian talking about it. He's written a couple episodes for it. He's directed a few. So he is very much involved in the show itself. And here's the thing about Dave Filoni. If you're a fan of Rebels, you will have known that there are, especially in like seasons 2 and 3, there are a few episodes that are the filler type of episodes. But this is what happens. Dave Filoni has straight up come out and said a couple times, and I believe I've mentioned this a few times in older videos, that he actually likes to throw in these random episodes that don't seem to make sense within the rest of the season. Like, he has talked about this in reference to the Chopper episodes that don't seem to make any sense, where basically he does like a serious episode, and then there's one with Chopper doing whatever it is Chopper does. A serious episode, one that doesn't make any sense at all. But here's where this comes into play. Dave says he does this, and he throws in these filler episodes, and people will go, oh, it's just a filler episode. But then something will happen later in the show, maybe later in the season, or as we've seen in Rebels, like the following season, that connects back to that filler episode. So suddenly that episode that when we first watched it and thought it was filler, we go back and rewatch it and we realize that episode wasn't as much a filler episode as we thought, because it actually revealed something very, very interesting. There was a plot point in that episode that, because we just wrote it off as filler, we didn't stop to think about it at the time. Now, like I said, Dave Filoni isn't like the main writer for this show. He isn't like anything. He is helping on the show. And this is where I said it's important to remember Dave Filoni likes to throw in random filler episodes that actually have a meaning and will affect something later on in the series. Because he is involved in this, and I think because he is so involved in this, Jon Favreau is going to do like the same thing, where he throws in a random episode that just seems like a filler episode, but we don't get the payoff of that episode till later, and we don't realize how important the said filler episode is until later in the series or next season. I posted this online to my Facebook group, and one of the girls immediately said yes, because the first season, that episode where he goes to do that jailbreak, that was kind of a filler episode, and this is where the payoff, and we get some of this payoff in this episode, Chapter 10, The Passenger, linking back to that episode. And that episode is Season 1, this is Season 2. So I think what we have to keep in mind with this series being Jon Favreau helmed, with Dave Filoni having a lot of input into the series, is there are going to be, at least I'm predicting, 1 or 2 episodes each season that feel like a filler episode, and we're just going to write them off at the beginning. But then I have a feeling later in the season, there's going to be another episode or another 2 episodes that we're going to be kicking ourselves about, because it's something happened in that episode we thought of as a filler that we really should have been paying attention to, but we weren't. So beware of calling an episode, especially in a Star Wars thing like this, a filler episode. I am of the belief that it can feel like a filler episode, but with Dave Filoni and with Jon Favreau, who I think is going to be pulling this from Dave Filoni, I don't think you can rightly call an episode a filler episode at this point. It will feel like a filler episode, but I said we're going to be kicking ourselves later on for calling this episode a filler and just being so, like, saying it's a good episode, it was a great episode, it was a fun one, but it was just filler. We're going to be kicking ourselves later on at some point because we missed something in that episode that we really, really should have been paying attention to. Like, going back to Season 1, that episode with Ming-Na Wan's character, and the end of that episode, seeing that figure, I'm now thinking that figure was actually the mysterious man we see at the end of the Marshal in this season. So, just be aware, just be careful when you're so quick to label an episode of The Mandalorian as a filler episode, because again, it is Dave Filoni, and he and Jon Favreau are kind of close. I think they're really great friends. So I obviously think Jon is going to be pulling from Dave's experience, having done Clone Wars and Rebels and Star Wars Resistance when it comes to these so-called filler episodes, because I don't think any episodes in this series is actually going to be just solely a filler episode to get from point A to point B really quickly. I think there's going to be more to it than that. So just be aware of that going forward. So that was my quick recap review for The Mandalorian episode 10, The Passenger. Like I said, good, solid episode, creepy episode. I cannot wait to see this week's episode. I'm super, super, super excited. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget, if you like my videos, make sure you're giving me a thumbs up and clicking subscribe to let me know to keep doing what I'm doing. Also, let me know down below what you guys saw of this week's episode, The Passenger. And did you think it was creepy? Do you think it is filler? Like I said, remember, I don't think we can call any episode of The Mandalorian just a filler episode. Tell me what you guys think the payoff's going to be later on down the road for this episode. So, Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're all staying healthy, safe, and sane. I'm sending you all lots of love, hugs, and prayers, and I will talk to you soon. And as always, this is the way. May the force be with you. Bye, everybody.